Well, hello again. You guys still got some energy left in you? What are you excited about for today? Wait, what? What was that? You guys aren't excited over here. I don't know, but they're kicking your panties over here. Oh! I mean, there's a lot of pent-up need for some product up in here. I am so looking forward to tonight. You guys are going to have a crazy, fun ride. We're going to put even more information in front of you. I think by the time your time was done with us with this general opening session, you will have fallen in love with pure romance in a whole new way. You ready? Gosh, we're flipping the switch on you guys. We're flipping the switch. You have a guest speaker to start you off, a bonus speaker. And I can't wait for you to meet this individual. I am so, so happy that our paths were able to cross. Let me tell you a little bit more about who she is and what you're in store for. Her name is Cassandra, and she is the founder and CEO of Change Enthusiasm Global, a well-respected growth enablement firm. A former Fortune 100 innovative leader in the world's leading expert of change enthusiasm. Who's ready to handle some more change coming at you? Through her corporate experiences, she has not only endured, but thrived during major change challenges, including acquisition and significant organizational restructure. This endurance was thanks to the creation and cultivation of her strategy, Change Enthusiasm. She now teaches this unique strategy with world-class business leaders across almost every industry out there, from CPG to retail to insurance to healthcare, and now to pure romance. Let's hear it for Cassandra Worthy.
Thank you so much. Rock it up. Woo! Good afternoon. Good afternoon, rock stars. What it do? Oh my goodness, I'm standing backstage like this is about to be the best audience I've ever had. I am so excited. I'm so honored. I'm so grateful to be here with all of y'all in this beautiful physical space, seeing faces, seeing smiles. Y'all, I gotta keep it real. Nowadays, with everything that we've been through, whenever my feet can hit a physical stage, I just don't know what to do. I just get so excited, but y'all can probably feel me, right? This is the first of maybe a few big in-person conferences that you've been to, right? Probably still feels a little weird, right, with all the people around. So listen, this is what I'm gonna do to start us off. I'm gonna retrain y'all. Okay, I'm gonna re-qualify y'all to be highly engaged, highly energetic audience members going through 2022 and beyond, all right? So we're gonna go through a two-part qualification, all right, 2 parts. Now, for those of y'all looking at me worried, don't be worried, okay? Because this is easy, everybody's gonna be able to do this, okay? Now, for this first part, I do want everyone to stand up, all right? Everyone stand up. I hear the groans, y'all stand up. Make sure your hands are free, put down your waters, your cocktails, your Bloody Marys, whatever we drinking out there. All right, now, very easy for this first part, all right? I want everybody to raise your right hand. Yes. Now raise your left hand. Yes. Now give me a wave. Give me a wave. Now give me a little shake. Give me a little shimmy, shimmy. Tell me your name right here, ma'am. I see you. I see you. What's your name? Glenda was like this. She was just shaking. She almost did a 360. I see you. All right, have a seat. Everybody have a seat. Everyone pass qualification phase 1 with flying colors, especially Glenda. I'm stealing this. I'm stealing your moves. Now, the second part is very easy, but we're all going to use our vocal cords. All right, use your vocal cords. So on the count of 3, I want everyone in here to shout as loudly as you can, yeah! On the count of 3, y'all are too hype. On the count of 3. All right, so on the count of 3, that's what we're going to do. Yeah. You ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Woo! Are y'all sure y'all not drinking yet? My God, y'all are hype. I love it. Yes, thank you all for being here. Thank you to the planner, to the organizers for having me, and the invitation and opportunity to engage with you all. Well, as you probably already gleaned from my time with you all this evening, I'm going to be talking about something that every single person on the planet has gotten a lot closer to over these past couple years, and that is change. But I'm going to be talking about the chemistry, the feelings, the emotions of change, and how to harness the power of that energy, that emotion, to fuel your growth through any change, any disruption, any pivot that you're making in your business. But before I dive in, I want to offer a couple things, all right? One is my commitment to all of you, and next is an ask that I have of you, all right? So let me start with my commitment. Each and every one of you are taking time out of what I know is a very busy and hectic schedule. Time to share with me and the rest of your peers. And so I want to make sure that I'm adding value for this time. Sharing some new perspective, some new way of thinking about things that's going to help you in your day-to-day starting tomorrow. That's my commitment to all of you. Now, next is the ask I have of you, right? I already feel the energy is high. Y'all are already requalified. I just ask you keep that energy up. Let's remain present. Let's remain engaged as we go through this. I'm going to be doing some call and response. At the end, there's going to be opportunity for some Q&A. We've got mics set up. So if you have a question as I'm going through the content, don't lose it. And I actually brought some gifts for the first few who ask a question. So don't lose your question. Yeah, okay. I expect you to ask a question then. I see you. Okay. Now, so remember your questions. She going to beat you to the mic. She about to hit somebody going to the mic. So remember your questions. So let's get started. I've had the great pleasure and honor of not only giving a lot of presentations, but I've also been an attendee at a lot of different conferences. And for me, as an attendee, whenever I see somebody I don't know walk up on a stage, my first thought is always, who is this person? And why do I care to listen to them? It never fails. Even if I just heard their bio, if I'm reading their bio, I'm always thinking to myself, how long am I going to give this person my attention before I start multitasking, maybe checking my phone, or even getting up and going to get some work done, right? So as I stand here, your opening guest keynote presenter, I'm not going to be naive enough in allowing myself to believe there aren't at least 80% of y'all thinking something very similar about me right now in this moment. And that's okay. That's okay. Because what I want to do to start is share with you what drives my passion, my dedication, and my expertise around this whole idea of mastering the chemistry, the feelings, the emotions of change, and how to fuel your growth through that. So as you did here, I spent several years working in more traditional roles of corporate America, leveraging my degree in chemical engineering. Now, as a chemical engineer, I got to do like shampoo formula design. I got to do blades and razors manufacturing scale up, and it was a really fun and rewarding career. But it was a career that was riddled and dealing with a lot of shift and change. From thriving in the face of multi-billion-dollar acquisitions, to leading the cultural integrations of those businesses, to delivering business results across many different regions and cultures all over the world. But you know, before even stepping foot at the first company I worked at, Procter & Gamble, before day one of my professional life, I had been uniquely groomed for change. Groomed for change, that I had to handle all that emotional complexity that comes with it. I want to time warp us, all right? I'm going to take us back. I'm going to take us back to 1981. Yes, y'all know 1981 was a good year. It was a good year. There were 2 events of significance that happened in 1981. 2. All right, now the first, and by far most significant, my birth. Yes, that's right, that's right. 1981, I was welcomed into the world. Now, you would have no idea, with all the bliss and serenity on that face, to know that my mom had just endured about 14 hours of labor in making this happen. My mom rocks, all right? She's a rock star. Now, the second event of significance was also a birth of sorts, and that was the birth of the millennial generation. Yeah, that's right. 1981 is the year that most generational experts claim to be year 1 or ground zero of the millennials. I'm curious, are there any other 1981 babies out there? Yes, I see you. Okay, yes. So, you know, even though we're we're starting to hear language like generational cuspers for those born at the end of one generation and the beginning of the next. I like to call myself a front runner of the millennials, right? Front runner. This sounds snazzy, right? Yes, like I'm winning. Although, how many of y'all in here have siblings? Oh my goodness, so many of y'all. All right, how many of y'all have siblings that you actually like? Okay, good, about 80% still. Great, great. So I have siblings as well. I like them and I love them, but they use very different language for me. They call me the grandmother of the millennials, which, you know, it's not kind. It's not snazzy language. It's not what I use for myself. It's not what those of you born in '81 should be using. We are rock stars of this generation. But what did it mean, right? What did it mean for me and those born in 1981? I was literally born on a generational scene, right? On the divide between Gen X and Gen Y. So growing up, coming into adulthood, learning how to interact with the world and how the world interacts with me, if somebody had sat me down and told me that not only was I gonna have to deal with all the changes that would happen to my body, but also changes in the fundamental way that I connect with another human being, my face would have looked more like this dude's, right? Because let's think about this, let's break it down. So in grade school, if I want to connect with kids in the classroom, I'm hand passing notes. There were no text messages, y'all know, so it's folded real neat so no one can read it, yes? Now I'm doing this until I got my very first pager. Who in here rocked a pager? Who? Yes, y'all, when I got my pager, I started wearing my shirt tucked in so that everybody could see how cool I was. Now, for those of y'all celebrating with them pagers, you probably remember your beeper codes. Now, what happened when our hips start vibrating? Where are we going? We going to the payphone, right? We going back and forth to the payphone bank. Now, I'm doing this until I got my first taste of a computer and the internet, and very quickly got hooked to this guy. Who stayed up late? Who was in the chat rooms? Come on. Yes, AOL, you've got mail. I tell you, I was staying up late in these chat rooms, chatting with everyone who happened to be online. I had no idea what that meant. I just knew I was having fun, right? So I'm doing this, staying up late in the chat rooms until I got my very first cell phone. The straight block Nokia. Y'all remember Nokia? Yes? Able to connect with anyone that I knew simply by reaching my hand in my pocket. Now, y'all know these cell phones have learning curves, right? They got learning curves. So as soon as I had mastered that straight block Nokia, I got my second cell phone. And then I got my third cell phone. And then I got my fourth cell phone. And then my fifth cell phone. And of course, by this time, the phone is smarter than I am, right? So it's outfitted with all the social media apps. I'm rocking Twitter. I'm on Instagram, I'm doing Facebook, and these learning curves have continued all the way to my current cell phone. Y'all don't judge me, you know the struggle is real. In fact, who else in here is rocking a crack on their screen? Oh my goodness, it's like 20% of y'all. We need to be in a help group. We need to find some support. We doing too much. Now, I'm sharing all this to say, not just so we all can lament over cracked screen drama, but I'm sharing this to say that through the course of growing up, coming into adulthood, learning how to interact with the world and how the world interacts with me, I have learned adaptability, resilience, and perseverance. Adaptability, resilience, and perseverance. And so I stand in front of you today a firm believer that if adaptability, perseverance, and adaptability can be learned, then it can be taught. And it can be taught short of going through these decades of life experience. And that's what this session is all about. I'm going to share a strategy with you that will enable your own unique signature of adaptability, resilience, and perseverance to shine. And I got to say, the time for all of you to express that signature has never been near. In fact, it is here right now for every single individual in this room. You know, as I think about you all and this roller coaster journey that you've been on over these past couple years, 2020 being a stellar year business-wise for y'all. I know that you broke records, and I celebrate those records being broken because we were all at home, and y'all were helping us out being at home. Yes, so I celebrate that. But then came 2021, and now this year, and I know many of you are starting to see sales dip. maybe things becoming stagnant, and you're at this place where you got to figure out, okay, how can I pivot? What do I need to do to change to get those sales at least close to where they were in 2020? You know, I know some of you are working on social media. That's hit or miss. You know, you had pivoted to virtual, and now it's, do we go back to in-person, what that looks like? And how do I think about having that direct connection with my clients and growing that client base once again? And so with all of that happening, I'm certain there's room for maybe some frustration, right? Maybe some fear or anxiety, thinking about how am I going to continue to grow my business? How would I continue to hold on to these clients? So now is the time to learn how to harness the power of that emotion, that energy, to fuel your growth through these times, to continue delivering those sales and building your revenue. And that's what the session's all about. I'm going to share a strategy with you that will enable you to do just that. It's a strategy that when you can practice it on a consistent basis, it's going to give you a sense of excitement and enthusiasm for every big change, every pivot that you need to make. And a strategy that's ultimately going to enable you to become a point of inspiration, not only to your peers, but perhaps to your clients as well. Does that sound like something that can be relevant? Are y'all awake? Can it get? Yes, well then let's talk about it then. Let's get into the good stuff. So this strategy, this is a growth mindset. And it's a mindset that I've coined change enthusiasm. Change enthusiasm. So what is it, right? I'm sure some of y'all looking at the screen sideways like, okay, how is this any different from being a change agent or a change optimist? She just put in a little cute word at the end of change with no real meat behind it. Well, if you're thinking that, you couldn't be further from the truth. Because this is actually a workable strategy. And it's a strategy that's worked through the practice of 3 simple steps. And those steps are the signal, the opportunity, and the choice. All right, and think about it like a traffic light. The red light being the signal, the yellow light being the opportunity, and the green light being the choice. The signal, the opportunity, and the choice. Thank you all so much. You've been amazing. Y'all cheering, I'm kidding. I'm going to unpack this. I'm actually going to share a story with y'all on how I came to cultivate it and put it into practice in my own life. But before I do, the energy is just so good. I want to keep just leveraging it. By show of hands, how many in here has seen the movie Psycho? A lot of y'all. Y'all like horror movies, huh? I like that. Now, for those of y'all still looking at me sideways, trust, this is not where the presentation takes a horrible turn left, okay? Everyone's safe. Everything's fine. But for those of you who've seen that movie, do you remember that one scene in that movie? It's probably the most memorable scene of the whole film, the shower scene. You know that really chilling, stabby music that they play? Ring, 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 ring. Yes, yes. So listen, when I point to y'all, when I do this motion, I want everyone in here to do your loudest and best rendition of that chilling, stabby music, okay? Now, we're going to practice this. I don't want to be the only one up here looking silly. We're going to practice this on the count of 3. We're all going to do it together, all right? But just a reminder, keep your hands to yourself, all right? I like seeing the stabbing motions, but don't hurt nobody, okay? Here we go. On the count of 3. Ring, ring. We ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yes! I love that. I swear I get chills every time I do it. So remember, when I point to you, that's the energy, that's the motion that I want y'all to give. Cool? Can you do that? Cool? Cool. All right, so my very, very first really big change challenge in my professional life came after I'd been working at Procter & Gamble for about, just down the street, for about 3.5, 4 years. And I transitioned into a recently acquired business. Now, this was a multi-billion-dollar acquisition, so it was a really big deal. And upon transferring, I was told I was being brought in not only to help continue delivering breakthrough innovation, but also to help integrate parent company tools and processes into that technical community. Now, I was naive in thinking this is going to be work that similar to what I'd done before, right? I'm a rock star. I created tools. I brought them to life in other businesses in that parent company. But day one in that business, I was met with a completely different business culture. The language was different. The behaviors were different. Those cultural norms were different, right? The common norms I had grown so accustomed to and that had served me so well up until that point just did not exist. And on top of that, despite my very best intentions, the use of those tools and processes that I was supposed to bring to life in that community was met with what I'll call great adversity. I was lost, I was frustrated, and I felt like a fish out of water. And then to add insult to injury, I discovered one day that a colleague of mine had shared my results, my data, my conclusions and recommendations with senior leadership, not only without me being in the room, but without even acknowledging that it was all my work. And upon hearing this, of course, I shared it with my manager, right? And when I shared it with my manager, they just simply brushed it off. Said, don't worry about it, it's not that big of a deal. Yes, you got it. This is that signal. This is the first step. It's these feelings. I felt resentful towards my colleague. I felt so angry and frustrated with my manager because day one at Procter & Gamble in that culture, you were taught the importance of your pie. Pie meaning performance, image, and exposure. And so here someone was stealing slices of my pie, and my manager could care less. So with every passing day, I was becoming more and more disengaged in my work and really looking for any opportunity to escape. And that's what the signal denotes. It's these really difficult emotions, the fear, the frustration, the anger, the anxiety, the feelings you just want to run away from, the feelings you just want to escape. In fact, given everything that you all have been through over these past couple years, the pivots to virtual, the having to pivot in your own business, wanting to grow your sales back, I'm certain some of you have felt some of these emotions, maybe even recently. And if you have, I want you to turn to your neighbor right now, and I want you to tell her, good gracious, yes. Tell her about it, yes, yes. Some of y'all about to tell stories in the back. All right, we've all been there, yes? We've all been there. Now, if you were one of the ones who just turned to your neighbor and shouted her ear off and said, good gracious, yes, let me be the first to say, congratulations. You got the signal. And it means something very big is happening for you. Well, you know, for me, back then, I was like all of you in the room. I hadn't yet created, let alone started to practice, this whole mindset of change enthusiasm. So I was left to sink in that mental downward spiral. The brightest part of my day was lunch, because I would sit with a handful of other parent company colleagues who had transitioned in, and we would vent, we would commiserate, we would talk about how horrible things were. I was very quickly reaching a breaking point and really looking for any opportunity to escape. Well, in a last-ditch effort, I decided to reach out to a mentor. Now, she was a director at the time, and she was Heritage Parent Company. So in my mind, she was the solution to right every wrong in my work experience. Because not only was she in a position of influence, but she also would have the capacity and understanding where I was coming from, unlike my line management. So, you know, I got on her calendar, got together an agenda, got together what I felt to be 3 very actionable help requests. Although, y'all know hindsight's 20/20, right? Hindsight 20/20. So in hindsight, those help requests might have well have read, number 1, fire this dude. Number 2, fire my manager. And number 3, promote me so I can fire these other 8 people I'm struggling with. Y'all don't judge me. Don't judge me. I was younger. Regardless, we met. You know, I'm going through the agenda, talking the help request. Really, by the end, I'm just venting to this woman. And as I'm wrapping up, she looks at me and she says, Cassandra, I want to offer you some advice. You can either get bitter or you can get better. It's your choice. Woo! Wait a minute now, wait a minute. You talking about signaling emotions. For me in that moment, of course I responded in kind, thank you very much. But when I was getting up and leaving that office, I was fuming. I was fuming. And I'm thinking to myself, my choice? It's not my choice. I'm not the one in a position of influence. It's her, not me. And she wasn't listening to me. And so I made the decision that I was going to keep looking for any way to escape. And I was just going to quit. I was going to quit that company. But then something happened. Those words that she said, bitter or better, they stayed with me. And over the next several days, I started to embrace this idea that I had power, that I had control and say over my own work experience. And the more that I stepped into that idea, I stepped into a major moment of opportunity. Step 2. I had just reached step 2 of the strategy of change enthusiasm, the yellow light. In fact, this is a good place for me to get to know y'all a little bit better as we talk about traffic lights. All right, I want y'all to do me a favor. I want you to envision yourself, you're in your car, you're driving, you approach a traffic light, and it turns yellow. I already know what y'all's answer is about to be. Now I want you to signal, wait a minute, signal to me what is your behavior when you sitting behind that wheel and it turns yellow. All right, so y'all give me a 1 if you're slowing down. Safety first. Somebody just put their hand down. She was like, oh, no, that's not me. That's not me. I see some ones. Okay, I like, thank you, safety first. Now give me a 2 if you're flooring it, because you got places to be. All right, I got to ask you right here. What's your name? Becky was like, yes, yes, preach. I'm coming back to you, Becky. I see you. All right, keep your hands up. Now give me a 3 if it depends. It depends, right? All right, I see the 3s going up. Although I see some of y'all stuck to those 2s. I see you. Speaking of which, Becky, talk to me. What kind of car do you drive? A Chevy Malibu. What color is it? Silver. When y'all are leaving this conference, if you see a silver Chevy Malibu, just watch out. We don't know what Becky's about to do. I'm kidding. No, just kidding. No, but you know what ultimately we're doing in this time zone? We are in a decision-making process, right? Weighing options, exploring what's possible, right? How much distance do I have between me and the light? How fast am I going? Are there any squirrels or children that I don't want to run over, right? But really, what are we thinking? I don't know if Becky's thinking this, but what are we thinking? Are there cops? Are there cops? I mean, what's really gonna happen to me if I run this thing, right? But this is a decision-making process, right? Weighing options. And that's exactly what step 2 of the strategy of change enthusiasm is all about, right? You've recognized your feelings as a signal. You've accepted their invitation into your moment of opportunity to grow, to learn, to evolve, and then you're weighing options. Options on how you can milk that opportunity for all it's got, yeah? So for me, back then, having let those words of wisdom resonate, bitter or better, I saw a couple options, all right? I could either remain resigned, despising going into the office, resenting the majority of my colleagues, and basically in a state of misery, looking for any opportunity to quit, or I could choose to trust that despite their behavior, they had my best interests at heart, the one that shared my results, because that really was the behavior that was giving me the worst feelings. But I could choose to trust that despite their behavior, they were not acting maliciously. And the more that I leaned into making that decision, I started to get a different feeling, right? I started to feel intrigued. Because if not acting maliciously, then why? Why would they have done the things that they did? But in that moment, intrigue felt better than resentment. And intrigue successfully created a path for me to re-engage in my work. So that's what I did. I made a conscious, productive choice to bring about a better feeling and a better result, right? That's the 3rd step, the green light, right? You've recognized your feelings as a signal. You've accepted their invitation into your moment of opportunity to grow, to learn, evolve, become better, weighing options. And then from those options, making a conscious, productive choice to become better, right? To inspire a better feeling and a better result. Yeah, the signal, the opportunity, and the choice. Yeah? So what happened, right? I always like to share what happened as a result of me cultivating this mindset, really practicing it on a daily basis. Well, at first, it just looked like me engaging with my colleagues in a different way, right? Seeking first to understand, but ultimately, I was inspired. I was inspired to write a series of intercompany articles that I called my diaries. And the intent was to share where I thought there was opportunity in that business, as well as where I thought there was strength that needed to get reapplied. And for one of those articles, I decided to interview several of my working team colleagues, including the one that I thought wronged me. And I asked questions like, what are you most proud of? And how do you think your functional expertise can not only help this business, but also other businesses around the parent company? And in having these conversations, I discovered the fundamental differences in cultural norms across those 2 different companies. And come to find out, that colleague wasn't acting maliciously. They were just abiding by a different set of cultural norms. And in having these conversations, it was so eye-opening and healing for me. And when I published them out, I just wanted one person. I wanted one person to read them and feel the sense of healing that I felt, because it truly was tremendous. Y'all know what happened? It was nuts. It's crazy what happened. So that article, the one in particular with the interviews, became in the top 3 most widely read in the entire company for several weeks in a row. I think when it was all said and done, it had like over 6,000 reads. Now, thank you. Now, I do feel like I need to calibrate y'all, okay, before you give me too much applause. Up until that point, I was lucky if I got like 100 reads on a report. So this is a really big deal. I had colleagues stopping me in the hallway, thanking me for writing their reports, saying how my words had helped nurture much needed conversation and dialogue between them and their working team colleagues. But you know what the best part was? The best part of taking control of my work experience, working this mindset, reaching for my better and better, I ended up going to a women's networking event, and we had also invited a speaker in, and it was the president of that business. And during his talk, he pointed me out in front of everybody. He's like, "You're Cassandra, right?" And I'm looking at this dude like a deer in headlights. I had no idea he knew who I was. He's like, "You're Cassandra, right?" I was like, he said, "I want to thank you for writing those reports." He said, "Although there were a couple points I didn't necessarily agree with," he said, "I want to thank you for the courage it took to write them." And then he got really honest with me and the rest of the group. He said their most glaring mistake in the acquisition and the integration was not recognizing and fully embracing the differences in cultural norms across the two different companies. But he said it was perspectives like mine that was helping he and his senior leadership understand where those tension points lied so that they could create plans to address them. As a junior, female, black, gay engineer, I had effectively influenced the culture of that organization from bottom to top, simply by taking control of my own work experience, reaching for that better and better feeling. Now, y'all, please don't get me wrong. This was not all sunflower seeds and daisy petals. It wasn't all good. I need to learn that saying. It wasn't all good, right? I continued having challenges in that business. And at any given point in time, a better feeling might have looked like stress, because stress felt better than depression. A better feeling might have looked like annoyance, because annoyance felt better than rage. A better feeling might have looked like intrigue, because intrigue felt better than resentment. Yeah? And the more that I worked this strategy, recognizing those signaling motions, seeing my moments of opportunity, and choosing to evolve, I ended up getting myself top rated in that business, landing a growth opportunity I would not have had I not transitioned into that business. So the more that you can work this strategy, embrace it as your very own, recognize your signaling motions, stepping into your moment of opportunity, and choosing how to become better, how to grow, you'll come to find that the really big changes, the really big disruptions, they never happen to you, they happen for you, to serve your evolution to your very best self, allowing you to unleash that inner rock star that I know you all have within. And it works. Now, what I want to do now is switch gears just a little bit. I know this is different content, talking about emotions, talking about change, and my mom is a retired French teacher. And she never lets me forget that we all learn things differently, right? So I actually want to take a pulse of what we got in the audience today. I want you to give me the signal of what best represents your dominant learning modality, so how you digest, how you learn information. So give me a 1 if you're an audio learner. You like YouTube videos, podcasts, just a few, okay? What about a visual learner? You got to see it. You taking notes? Yes, this me too, definitely visual. And then what about experiential? You got to get your hands in there. Perfect. Yes, I love it. All three, exactly, all three. Yeah, and I understand that. Sometimes, one learning modality might be a little stronger in some ways, and then others stronger as well. But usually there's about 2 that you're most dominant in. It seems like most in the room are visual and experiential. So what I want to do is break down the growth mindset of change enthusiasm as the growth cycle that it is, in a very visual way. And shout out to all my visual learners out there. And hopefully in a way that's going to help everyone else as well. And I want to offer some practical tips on how you can begin to incorporate this into your own lives, all right? So let me break this down in a very visual way. So the first thing that happens in the practice of this mindset is there's some type of a change event, whether that be having to change the way you're operating your business, moving from in-person to virtual, back from virtual to in-person, actually picking up the phone to create that direct human connection to actually get your groups together and make your sales, some type of change event. And that usually sets us off on a path. And the first things we face on that path are what I call the signal emotions of change. And those are fear, frustration, anger, grief, and anxiety. And it's in this first step that you're acknowledging these emotions and allowing them to exist. And this is really about knowing you. How does anxiety feel in my body? What does frustration feel like? What happens physiologically in my body? Like, I know for me, when I was in that business, I knew I was angry and frustrated almost every day because of the hair standing up on the back of my neck and my elevated heart rate in almost every meeting, right? But as soon as I recognized that, I was able to explore the thoughts, bringing my awareness into that emotional energy. Thoughts like, this is not a place where I can grow. my colleagues don't have my back, and I have to quit. But in acknowledging those thoughts, I was able to create space between the emotional energy and my conscious thinking. And in that space, I injected trust that if I'm feeling these emotions, it means I'm in a moment of opportunity, right? And that gets you to the second step, when you can accept that invitation and that trust that the emotions are there for a reason. And this is really where the work happens. This is where you're asking yourself, okay, what is here for me to learn? How can I become better? How can my business become better in this moment? What can I do a little bit differently? What can I learn from? Maybe learn from my peers, learn from others, to grow, to become better as an individual, as well as for my business and my clients. And once you've listed out those options, comes a third step. And this is really where the magic happens. Through the power of choice, you can begin to transform those signal emotions of change into what I call the growth-sustaining emotions of change. It's like moving from anxiety of all the negative implications into anticipation of how much you'll learn, how you'll grow, how you become better. Moving from fear of the unknown into hope of all the good that's in store. Now, I know it is a very rare breed that can move all the way from anxiety to anticipation with just one choice, all right? I can't even do that. But that's not what this is about, and it's not about blind positivity or blind optimism. It's about looking for those little micro choices that will begin to slowly transform that energetic signature. Slowly, one little bit of a time, moving to the next best feeling, like moving from resentment to intrigue, right? But here's the reality, right? My reality, your reality, you're gonna face an infinite amount of change events, an infinite amount of change events. And with every one, you're gonna be invited right back into that first step, inspired by your signal emotions, allowed to practice these steps over and over and over in the face of every signal emotion, recognizing those opportunities and choosing for yourself how you grow. And the more that you can work this strategy, the more revolutions you can make, the more times you work these steps in the face of every single emotion, you're gonna be literally rewiring the chemistry of your brain and building your resilience muscle. Your resilience muscle. I'm a firm believer that resilience is not anything that we're born with. It has to be ripped and stretched and torn over time. And we do that through the practice of experiencing change and disruption, and ultimately through practicing this mindset. So the more revolutions you can make, the more you can practice this, moving through those signal emotions, making those choices to grow and become better, you're gonna be building your resiliency. And you all have already shown so much resilience over these past couple years, making the necessary pivots in your business to continue to delight your clients, your customers, and move the business forward. But the more you can practice this and embrace this mindset, that'll even go to the next level. And it works. So here's what I wanna do before I open it up to some Q&A. I want to offer a couple things, all right? One is my hope. It's my hope. And next is a challenge for all of y'all. So first, my hope. So each and every one of you have just heard something different in the mindset of change enthusiasm. And just as that third step goes, you are all now sitting in the seat of choice. It's up to you. It's up to you whether you'll embrace this mindset as your very own, wanting to recognize how those signal emotions flow through you, accepting invitations to your opportunity to grow, and then choosing to become better. It's up to you. And of course, it's my hope that you'll all choose to say, yeah, y'all just like doing that, don't you? Me too, I understand. To say yeah to practicing change enthusiasm. Now, for those of you who do, here's my challenge. So at some point in the next couple days, I want you to give yourself 5 or 10 minutes of self-reflection, all right? Just sitting quietly with yourself. And I want you to think about one change, one aspect of a change, maybe a pivot you're trying to make in your business. And I want you to think about the one that's evoking the strongest signal emotion, right? The most frustration, the most fear, the most anger. And I want you to name it. I want you to name it. And then I want you to think of 3 ways that that change is inviting you to grow, to learn. Whether that be learning about yourself, learning about your peers, learning about this incredible business, maybe some new products, learning how you can bring that to your client base. 3 ways. And then I want you to think of one action you're committed to taking to milk one of those opportunities for all it's got. Now, of course, capturing more than one action is ideal, but anything that you capture, I actually want you to commit to. Now, I will tell you that you're gonna have a worksheet. In fact, it's there right now in the event app. And that worksheet actually will guide you through doing this, as well as a couple other exercises to put this mindset into practice. And you got it right there, I love it, on the printout, yes. So use that worksheet to bring these concepts into practical application. Because again, it's a practice. It's not like, okay, I just heard the message. I know what the steps are. Great, I'm a change enthusiast. I'm resilient. No, you got to practice it. You got to practice it. And that worksheet will allow you to do that. And I invite you to use that. Now, how many of you have heard of the term accountability partner? Yes, we usually hear it in the sense of the gym, right? It's that person that we hate, but we're so grateful for when we're leaving the gym, right? So at some point before the conference closes, I want you to find someone maybe you don't know, maybe someone who doesn't look like you, to be your accountability partner. And I want y'all to get in each other's calendar in the next month and agree to meet up and talk about what it was like doing that worksheet. What it was like putting this into practice. What came up for you? What was inspired? What are you currently working on that's maybe working really well in your business? Let's use it as an opportunity to hold ourselves accountable, to build our resiliency, and build up our community, right? Build up this community. That's my challenge to all of you. I cannot thank you all enough for your engagement, for your energy, and I wish you nothing but continued authentic success. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much. We got Mike set up. Now the first 5 questions will get a signed copy of my book. Now my book, I talk about practice. They running. Just so y'all, you really running. Now, just so you know, my book is available at changeenthusiasmbook.com in case you don't win one, and it really is around pulling the concepts into practice. There's a lot of worksheets, a lot of client examples, my own personal story. So, yes, go the first.
Other than the worksheet that
Yes.
you just gave to us as a tool,
Yes.
how do you get yourself out of that red?
Get myself out of step 1, you mean? Yes. So for me, it's 2 ingredients that are critical, especially moving from the signal to the opportunity. And in all transparency, that is the most difficult part of my practice of this mindset. You know, we all say we teach what we most need to practice. That is very true for me. You can ask my wife. It's very true. But 2 ingredients. The first one is grace. Granting myself grace that if I'm feeling these emotions, it's okay. It's natural. It's a gift of our species. It's okay. And allowing that emotion to exist. And grace. If I need to take a day to binge Netflix and eat donuts, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then, yes, yeah. Donuts get a yeah. I love it. And then after that grace has been granted, it's that trust, right? It's the trust that if I'm feeling this, I know I felt this way before going through big change, and something good came from it. So I'm going to let that be a seed of trust that something good is in store for me today. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to start making little choices to get me there, trusting that something good is on the other side of this. So grant grace and trust.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Make sure you get your book. Yes.
So thank you, because you were awesome.
Oh,
Super,
thank you.
super great. So my question is, how do I push myself to, I guess, in the red? So here's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
So a lot of my amazing sister consultants are doing TikTok, right? And somebody just pushed me to put my first TikTok on there, but
Yes.
I haven't even looked at it because
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else, but there's a fear of the comments. So if you can't tell, I got rice and beans in me, right?
Yeah. I do too. Here's to rice and beans. I love it.
You know what I mean? Little rice and beans and collard greens because I live in Florida now.
Yeah.
But there's that fear of the comments and all the backlash of putting myself out there.
Sure.
So I heard you kind of going through the red and the yellow and the green and the emotions, and I'm like, mentally I'm not ready for that. So
Yeah.
what would be your advice now that I'm gonna try to push myself out there?
And it sounds like you are, because you already did that first post, right? So you took,
Somebody made me push the button. Just so
well,
you know.
whoever that was, thank you. Push you into your discomfort zone. What's your name?
Melissa
Melissa.
Gonzalez.
I so identify and recognize this, especially this fear, in the business that I'm in as well, because it's all around social media following, and so you got to make posts all the time. So I would say that you are practicing this, and you're in the first step. You're in the signal. You're feeling fear. And so that has to mean there is something so good for you if you keep making these TikTok posts. If you get good at it, if you get comfortable with it, maybe that's not the exact platform. Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's Facebook, but you're building your familiarity with the platform. So you have to trust with all the fear that you have there, there's something good on the other side of it. And if anything, maybe it's just to get you in that zone of discomfort, because when we're there, you start building a muscle memory, so that when you step into something that makes you uncomfortable again, ooh, I've been here before. I made that TikTok post. I didn't die. And it was fine. And I also would say, and this is what my wife tells me to do, don't give the comments too much airtime. Don't give the comments too much airtime. Yeah? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And she gets a book? Yes. Yes. Talk to me.
Okay, so I'm listening to everything with, having grace and giving yourself grace and allowing trust and trusting the process.
Sure.
But what do you do when you are like completely, you're expected to be like the strongest, so everybody like looks to you. So I heard you say, when you're what your wife expects. So like at my house, there's my husband and my daughter, and I'm in education, so everybody expects like Michelle to be the strong person. Oh, go to Michelle, she'll do it. Go to Michelle, she can handle it. Talk to Michelle, she got it, she got it, she got it. So what do you do like when you really don't have it, but you gotta have it for everybody else?
That's real, isn't it? That's real. And you've built a track record of having it. So you know what they come to expect. She gonna have it, because every time I come, she got it.
Yep.
And you talk about strength. For me, and what I have seen in my own personal life, what I've seen from executives, from people all over industry, all over the world, showing vulnerability, showing that maybe there's a time that you don't got it, it's a show of strength and power. It is a huge show of strength and power. And it's not that I don't got it and I'm not never gonna get it, but today I don't got it. And that's okay, because I'm giving myself some rest. I understand the need. I got you, just not today.
So
because
vulnerability is strength.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it
Thank
is. Yes. And
Thank you.
please show it. Please show it.
Thank you,
Yes.
Cassandra.
Yeah. And get your book. Yes.
Hi. I'm feeling my fear and anxiety right now. Hi. You are absolutely wonderful, by the way.
Thank you.
So my question is, to get to where you are today, what was one of the hardest changes or challenges that you had to go through?
Ooh, excellent question. You try to get to know me, huh?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love it. I love it. I love it. It has to be when I decided to say to my alcoholism. So I was arrested for DUI in 2014. Up until that point, I used alcohol and drugs as a way to numb out, because I am one who likes to suppress, who likes to ignore difficult emotion, which is why before practicing this, I just stayed stuck in the signal, or doing that blind optimism, which was actually toxic, right? But when I decided to put the drink down, I had all this clarity, and there had always been this little whisper behind me that there's something bigger, there's something better that I need to be doing to share my gifts and talents with the world. When I had that sobriety and clarity, that voice got louder and louder and louder. And it allowed me to start pursuing the curiosity of what could that be? What could that be? And it set me on the path that got me on this stage right here today. So, yes. So sorry. 1 second. My bad. Y'all make some noise over here.
No worries. So my question, because I just got into this 2 years ago, haven't really got in contact with a lot of people. How do I get past, or if you can give me advice, to get past the negativity of thinking that people are just going to say no, and I've been told I don't use those products, but
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a fear of rejection, a fear of a no. Oh, man. You should see how many rejections I get on a daily basis. That's something I had to get real used to. Understand that when you get that no, when you get that rejection, try not to take it personally. And in my mind, the no is almost always one step to the next yes. And so you got to keep doing it. You got to keep throwing it out there and pile up those no's. I have a whole stack of rejection letters. I keep a storage of emails with rejections because I know, oh, look at all these. That means my next yes is coming. It's on the way. And I promise you, the more that you can get into the motion of reaching out and it becomes habitual, when that yes comes, you're like, oh, it's a yes. You know what I mean? So just keep that practice going. Keep it going. The next yes is coming. Yeah. Do you have one? Oh, you're helping.
Yeah, if you want to ping back and forth, I'll.
Well, you go ahead. I've been neglecting y'all this whole time.
I have like 5 though. So my first question is, are there any questions that you specifically ask yourself when you're going from that first initial fear or anxiety to move into choice? Do you have like 2 or 3 questions that you ask, like, why am I feeling this, or where
Yes.
did this come from?
Yes.
Do you have a specific set that you kind of go through for yourself?
I do, and I put it in the book.
Okay. Plug her book. Go buy her book, y'all.
I do. And it's a matter of giving yourself a little bit of a pause and that disconnect that I talked about between the emotional energy and your thoughts. And it's exactly that question, why am I feeling this? And trying to separate your conscious thinking from the emotional energy. Because without that separation, we can become anger. We can become fear, and our actions are driven in that emotional energy, as opposed to allowing the energy to guide us. Yeah, you had
And
something
then
else?
part 2 to that is, do you phrase that question differently as a coach when you're coaching, or do you rebuttal and ask that same question in the same manner to help them get through?
Yeah, I use the same question. And allow them to give the response, right? And kind of guide them through that. But I think the same question that I ask of myself is still valid to ask of another. Yeah, because it's almost like I'm stepping outside of myself to then guide me out of that darkness. Yeah, so the same questions
I'll
are valid.
do my last question.
Sure.
What are you currently reading and or podcasts that you're listening to?
Ooh. So what was the last book that I read? I like to read books of my speaking colleagues. There's a book called Digital Body Language by Erica Dewan, who's a good friend and peer of mine, also a speaker. She's a rock star. If y'all want to look her up, Erica Dewan, she's amazing. So that's the book that I'm reading now. The podcast that I'm listening to is How I Made My First Million. It's an entrepreneurial podcast. It's a really cool one. They talk about the inner workings of business, of starting a business, and what to be thinking about and mindful of when you're looking to grow and scale a business like I'm doing. So, yeah, good questions. Talk to me.
Okay, so you said that you were, so you're a junior black lady, gay woman,
That's correct.
right? And now I know you're a recovered addict.
Yes.
Did you have anybody that was against you and your success, and how did you overcome that?
That's a good question. If I did, I was probably blind to it. Because I knew I'm walking in my purpose. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So there I don't mean, that's truth. I really was. I felt it. I felt the pull. You know, Oprah has said before that you get to a place where the energy of your life begins to pull you forward. And I literally felt that when I was working in corporate. I felt it pulling me somewhere else. And so there probably were, you know what? There were naysayers, especially when I quit my 6-figure corporate job to go do my own thing. And my manager at the time was like, it was just like the week before he's about to give me a raise. And so he had the sheet of paper that had my new numbers on it, and he was like, here you go. He's like, this is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to be walking away from. I just wish you luck. And in my mind, I'm thinking, no, it's not. No, it's not. I can't wait for you to see what numbers I'm about to make. So, yeah.
So, I'm a recovering addict too.
Yes.
3.5 years.
Woo!
So, but I find it that people close to me, even my husband, doesn't support this business and me in it.
Yeah.
They say I'm not going to succeed. So, like,
Prove them wrong. Prove them
Right,
wrong.
right.
Prove them wrong.
Right.
Do you feel it? Do you feel it in your spirit, in your heart, that this is your lane?
I do, but sometimes I get stuck.
Then they just don't know it yet. And that's okay. You can let them not know it. It's okay. You know it.
Right.
And you keep moving forward, and you be successful. Yes.
Well, first, I do want to say thank you for coming and speaking for.
My pleasure.
you have answered my question. You mentioned on your journey with your conscious journey with alcoholism, that was your path that led you to here. But my question is, what inspired you to become a speaker?
Ooh, that intuition, as well as, I wasn't new to a stage when I got into the speaking business because I'd worked in corporate as an executive, and so I'd been in front of organizations and I'd spoken. And every time after speaking in front of an organization, either someone from the leadership team or someone else would come up and saying, Cassandra, you are the best. We always look forward to your innovation updates. And I'm like, look forward to an innovation update, okay. And I heard that often from people about, the way that I speak, the way that I can inspire others. I heard that a lot. And so when I was on that curiosity journey, that started to paint a bit of a picture of what could look different. At first, I thought I was just going to be a book writer, a nonfiction book writer. And then it took me going to a Hay House conference. That's my publisher now, Hay House. And I went to their Movers and Shakers conference. And there was a point where I was invited to come in front of the group and talk about what am I passionate about, why do I want to write, all that. I hadn't practiced at all. I winged it. I admitted to the organizers that I did. But when I got done, she was like, you need to be on stages. You need to be in front of people, sharing this energy. That's where you need to be. And then she asked everybody else, don't you think she needs to be doing that? And they're like, yes. I was like, speaking. You can get paid to speak? Yes, you can get paid to speak. So then I was like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. And then the first time I actually got on a stage talking about this that I'm passionate about, sharing my story, I was lit up, and I knew I'm in the zone. This is my purpose. So.
This is low. Hello. Hi.
What up?
Hey. So, mine is not really a happy question.
That's okay. We got signal emotions. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
So, I'm going through a divorce. It's almost finalized.
Yes.
And he's abusive, so it's a good thing. But I'm having such a hard time going from like the fear, the anxiety, the frustration, all of that to like being able to have joy and excitement. I'm like so much fear. And so all I could think of when I listened to you was like, how do I make the conscious decision? And I am a believer. I do pray. And I'm always a positive person, but I'm so afraid of what the outcome is going to be. And because it's my children, it's like everything is on the line. It's that scary, and I don't know what to focus on. So I'm just asking, what do you suggest?
Yeah, I'm coming down here. Yeah. As difficult as this is, as trying as it is, and as difficult as it is to try to find that trust that there is something on the other side, that's what you have to try to hold on to. And I think for you, it's a matter of grace. Still sitting in this grace. And if you need to have days where all you're doing is crying, that's okay. That's okay. And when you can, find that glimmer of trust and surround yourself with love, with those people who love you. Yes, 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 yes.
I couldn't miss this weekend because being around all of you guys is like the best support ever. But it's just, it's a scary and it's a lot of fear of like, in a couple weeks, will I lose my kids? Am I going to have them, at the way I have them? And it's hard to like go every day, like being able to just show face to my kids and not show them fear. So I'm sure, we can relate it to the business of like standing up in front of lots of people like right now and having fear and being nervous.
And overcoming that.
Right,
yes.
And having anxiety. But how do you make that conscious choice? Like how do you get to the hope if you don't believe it within yourself? How do you become to believe it?
Well, that's the first part, is the belief. That's the belief. So for me, when I think of belief, I think of a thought that you keep thinking. A thought that you keep thinking. And that's what trust is, right? It's belief in something. And so when I was in my sobriety journey, and when I thought, I used to go to, my parents are both recovering alcoholics, and I would go to those meetings saying that I was supporting them, but really it was to prove to myself there's no way I can be an alcoholic. Because I'd hear people telling stories about DUIs. I've never gotten a DUI. I can't be an alcoholic.
I don't have a problem.
Right? I don't have a problem. But then in the back of that squad car, arrested for DUI, the weight of all that. And you talking about darkness,
Yeah.
darkness and struggle. And I had to think back to all of the difficulty that I'd been through up until that point and finding those little glimmers of good that came from it. And just allowing myself in my heart and my spirit to believe, to trust, and keep thinking it. Something good is in store. Something good is in store. This is the right choice for me. And even saying it out loud. I would say it out, walking around my house by myself, saying it out loud. Keep thinking it. Keep thinking it. It will become. Yes, it will become a belief. And when you surround yourself with others around you, I'm sure they'll reinforce those thoughts as well. They'll reinforce. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. Yes.
I appreciate it.
Please.
I don't want her to go. I just want to share my short story right now. When you gotta do something, just do it. Just do it. I made the decision 2 months ago to divorce because he didn't support me in this business. And also, I'm in beauty pageants, so he didn't support that either. So I was like, okay, you don't support me on that, I'm just gonna leave. I took my stuff, I put it in my car, and I just left.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know what's gonna happen. I didn't know if I was gonna be sure to be here in national training, because I didn't have the money for the hotel to stay. And you know what I did? I sold my wedding ring, and I'm here.
Woo! Woo!
So
yes!
I'm here to tell
yes! Yes! Woo!
So I'm here today to tell y'all that even if you don't see the path, just do it. God is going to be there for you. He's going to make the path, and he's going to put the right people around you.
Yeah.
And even though if you feel fear, just do it.
Yeah.
Because when you have a purpose, you're going to fulfill it.
Yeah. You might have just found your accountability partner. That might be it. Get her information. Yes. We got time.
So I actually want to address the two ladies that were up here. Young lady that was just up here, you showed your strength by showing how vulnerable you are right now.
Yes.
You stood up here in front of all these women and you shared your story because you don't know what anybody in this room is going through right now.
Yes.
And you shared that story and probably provided hope for somebody else. And then when they had the naysayers, you know what? You take those naysayers and you take those stones and you go up those stones and show them what success looks like.
Boom! Drop the mic. Just. Yes, goodness. Yes. Thank you.
But I did have a question.
Sure. She's like, let me pick the mic back. My question, yes.
So my question was, when you are looking at step one, you may be feeling more than just one emotion.
Yeah.
And you might feel a block that you cannot see the opportunity. How do you find a way to unblock yourself? What methods do you use?
Yeah, that blockage, man, especially when you feel a cocktail of emotion, all five of them just swimming around. And I will tell you, I was there March 2020. I was there March 2020. It was bleak. It is bleak for a lot of us. But for me, my business is traveling the world, being with a lot of people in person. So waking up, checking my email, seeing all the cancellations come through, relocating to the couch, binging Netflix, eating donuts and potato chips, that's all I could do. That's all I could do. And I was in that darkness. And it was going back to those two things, right? The grace, I let myself do it for 2 weeks. I'm going to do this, but I have to trust that if I'm in this depth, there has to be something great on the other side. And in my experience, I have found the deeper the signal emotion, the more signal emotions that you feel, the worse that you feel, that's as big and as bright as it's about to be. Yeah. And then the other thing, the other ingredient to grace, trust, is patience. And that one's probably the most difficult one. Because you want it to happen just like this, you want to be out of it, but it takes patience and trust. Patience and trust, yeah. Thank you all, thank you. We'll take one more, one more. Oh, more over here. Okay, go ahead.
So my question kind of is close to to what the other two ladies mentioned. So obviously there's those negative and heavy emotions
Yes.
coming out of domestic violence and whatnot. So whenever it is just too much, what kind of coping mechanisms do you use to keep you from falling back into
Yeah.
the old habits?
Yeah, for me, it's my support system. It's my support system. And actually, we just closed our annual research on change and emotion in the workplace, and we found that for women, the most effective way of avoiding burnout and having that help when you're in that signal emotion is community, is a network, is this. And so I fall onto that. And I journal every single day. It's a spiritual practice for me. And through that exercise, I've come to know me a lot better by exploring thoughts and emotions. And I know the things that light me up. I know the things that bring and spark joy. And so when I'm in that, I strive to find and do those things that I know spark joy.
Okay.
But it's really a lot of the love and support that I have around me, and that's what I lean on.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, 3 more.
Okay, I have a question. What if the signal is your child whom has basically taken all control over you? How do you experience the next from that when in previous you have no support system at home?
Yeah, so when your child has taken control of the situation.
She's 11.
And she's 11. Whew. I should have said this at the start of the meeting. I am not a trained or licensed doctor.
How do I prepare mentally?
And you say it again?
How do I prepare mentally?
How do you prepare mentally? How do you prepare mentally when you're approaching the conversation or wanting to get that control back?
Yes.
I always have to go back to trusting that you will get it back, that it's possible. And remembering and envisioning what is the dynamic that you want to have. What is the dynamic you want to have? Envision that, know that it's possible, and then just take little steps towards getting there. And that sounds like an incredibly difficult situation I can't even imagine myself being into, but that's the best that I could offer.
I want her to have a fine line between friends and parental.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
So my question's completely random.
Okay.
So going from a chemical engineering background and having all that STEM to something completely different,
Yeah.
What do you personally do to still exercise that outlet
Of creativity?
your like STEM within you? Like.
Oh.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, so this mindset, it's a structured, pragmatic way of having a growth mindset. So I applied my engineering mind to creating this. And engineering and STEM is steeped in creativity. Like I worked in research and development, I worked in innovation. And so I get to flex my creativity almost every day thinking about how am I gonna grow the business? What's this new keynote I'm gonna talk about? How am I gonna customize this? So I still get to flex that. And the fact that I'm building and scaling a business, I still get to add a lot of process, a lot of rigor, a lot of structure. And then I also like to look at the back of shampoo bottles and tell my wife what kind of polymers are in there and what kind of surfactant system is in there. So that helps. Thank you. Last one.
Okay, so my question has kind of been asked a couple times already, but I feel like I'm in the red.
Yeah.
And I have a big decision to make. But there's a chance that if I make the jump, I could lose a lot.
Sure.
And I don't know if I'm mentally prepared to push myself to make the jump, knowing that I could lose everything I've already worked for.
Ooh.
And
No.
I have a limited support system too.
Really?
So I have limited resources and I want to make the jump. I want to do it so bad. But I'm so afraid that if I do and I fail, now I've failing twice.
Yeah. So I will tell you that no one can know when it's the right time except you. You're the only one that can know. And though you say you don't have a strong support system, but I fully believe that we all have a tap to divine energy that surges and flows through all of us. And when I was in that moment, and again, I have an engineering mind, so I actually set up success metrics for myself, what I needed to hit as far as bookings before I left my corporate gig. But I knew, because I felt that energetic pull, and that was my tap to the divine. So if you keep hearing it, if you keep hearing it's time, make the choice, make the choice, make the choice. That's divinity whispering to you. So don't ignore that. It'll just get louder and louder. But again, no one can decide this but you. No one can decide it but you.
Thank you.
Yeah. You all are beautiful. Thank y'all so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, can we hear it again for Cassandra Worthy? Woo! Who wants toys? They are still bringing it. All right. Patty now knows you are ready. She is back of house, and she is going to give you a break until 5:20. What time? 5:20. What time? 5:20. What time? 5:20. Be back in your seats at 5:20. New products are coming your way.